Cable 10, Aurora, Illinois Community Access Channel.
Let's get weird, buddy. Let's get weird.
Guys, where are we?
Well, if there's a bright center to the universe, you're on the planet that it's farthest from.
Welcome to the outer
Can't deny that view.
Enjoy your stay.
What did you do?
I saved her.
And I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun. With me, as always, is Darren Jakes from D's Reviews, here to help me discuss the finale of The Last of Us Season 2, or as I've been calling it, The Last of Us Part 2, Season 1, or Part 1. There's a lot of different ways to say this. So if you're liking what we're doing here, of course, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications, get all that stuff out of the way, because this is a lot. So full spoilers on everything Last of Us. Everything. Okay, if you haven't played the DLC, tough shit. If you haven't watched episode 3 of last season, I don't care. We're talking about all of it. This is for people who have seen it. So watch the episode and then come back. Sounds like a lot of everybody has watched this episode because there's a lot of opinions. And even my opinion after watching this episode has... I had baseline notes that I took. I usually take a lot more. And at the end of the day, we were going to record this yesterday, and I just decided not to. And I think part of that was because I really wanted to chew on this. Because after discussing the episode with a friend that had watched it with me, I was like, okay, we've got something here. But I really wanted to go, okay, we're not recording this till today, which means I can listen to at least the podcast and see what Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann and the other writer of not just the show, but the second game. And so I listened to that, and that led me to listening to multiple people today talk about it. And I listened to very popular people like that Moist Critical dude. He does, who's on Twitch. He has his channel on YouTube is Penguin Zero. But I also listened to smaller channels. I listened to big, medium-sized channels. I listened to the gamut of people today talk about things. The only people I didn't listen to today was the obvious chuds who don't care about anything but shitting on everything and saying that minorities and girls are the problem for everything.
Yeah.
And I listened to all of them, and to varying degrees. I think that every single one of them, I think, had some points. I disagreed with them as well. I disagreed a lot with them as well. But there were a lot of different points that really made me think about not just this episode, but the whole season as a whole. And how do you, because I put it in the description of these videos, I'm a massive Last of Us fan. I have played these games for hundreds of hours, and I know that even as I think I've played it a lot, I know that there are people that, eat, sleep, and breathe this, have played it for thousands of hours for some reason, have made this part of their identity. So, sure, there's a whole lot of other people that just know every single detail of this thing because of that.
You just did your 74th platinum run or something like that recently, didn't you? So
yeah,
that's still, it's knowledgeable.
Yeah,
good understanding.
Yeah. And I have to say, and I can't wait to completely turn this over to Darren for a little while so I can stop talking and worrying. Because to me, I'm trying to come at this from, okay, we're talking about the TV show adaptation. And I've said this before, a lot of times I think I have better takes on things that I don't know anything about. If it's part of some IP, if it's based on a comic that I haven't read, or a TV show that got turned into a movie or something, or whatever it is, some IP, I usually end up enjoying whatever it is a lot more when I don't know the source material.
Mm-hmm.
The Last of Us season 1, and I also rewatched the entire first season in the course of like a couple of days, because I was like, I want to know comparatively. I remember what happened, but it's been a minute since I watched it.
Right.
And like I said, I'm coming at this from all these different ways, but I want to talk about this as a show and not just as this game fan, because one of the problems I noticed when I was listening to a lot of these people is they come at it and they kept talking about the game. The game does this, the show does this. The game does this, the show does this. And I think a lot of them get stuck in how games tell a story and how television tells a story, how movies tell a story. They all have different ways of doing it. And even games, like you get these people who specialize in just talking about games. And so they marry themselves to those ideas about how they do story and character in games. And then when it translates to television or movies, they don't understand because of what they saw. They can't separate the two, because if the one isn't exactly the same as the other, they can't wrap their heads around why would they change this if it worked. And a lot of times they don't know what they're talking about.
Yes, different mediums require different things.
I have to agree with a lot of what they said, but based on, I guess, what I want. But I also have to try to think about how all of the majority of people, in every single time they adapt an IP, and we've been over this a lot, is they're making it for everyone, not just for your ass who liked the thing in its other form. They have to sell it to a bunch of people. And so a lot of times things get changed. Sometimes they go harder than the source material. Sometimes they go softer. And so all these different thoughts are floating around in my head. And I still had to come to the conclusion of, first, there were a lot of problems with this finale. Not just as a game player or a fan of the game, but as a TV watcher as well. And then when I started to, if I had to say, is this a good adaptation of the game up till now? Not really.
Okay.
You can have all the things there and still somehow miss the mark. You can be accurate and have all these things in there and go, wow, they kept this and they kept this and they kept this. And I have talked about how the changes that they've made are good and they give, because I'm talking about adapting it to a TV show. So I'm like, okay, there are all these different ways that you can flesh out these worlds and characters and make them fuller characters than they can in the game. Or in some ways, like Dina, create a character so good that she outshines the game character in so many ways. But when I think about now, and I still stand by some of the things that I say, of course, like the flashback episode, I said, well, I think it's kind of good that they did one like that. There's a part of that, though, that I think needed to be excised. And I guess I'll talk about that right now, I guess, is that in that flashback episode, how the flashbacks are used in the game aren't just narrative. It's also to let you take a breath. to let you and also because they didn't want to just completely erase Joel from existence in the game, so they parse it out. But narratively, there's also they're in these beats that are telling something that coincides with what's going on in the story. And the thing that we talked about, the scene on the porch, the very last thing in the game, its movement, now that I'm like looking at all of this, to where they put it so that they could just jam them all into one thing, was a huge mistake, narratively, to me, now looking at it. Okay, they wanted to put in like a bunch of these flashbacks at once, great. But that last moment on the porch is important to be at the end because it is the game. The whole thing about forgiveness, doing what you've done, that her last words to him weren't some cruel thing, that there was this thing that explains Ellie's fall, which is, if I were to ever lose you, right, I would truly lose myself. Like him saying I would do it all again. All of that laid bare is why it's important. And this show did not deliver on making Ellie who she should be. And I feel like they really pulled back on because when I said, like, when I play the game now, and I'm sorry, I'm still talking, Darren.
Go.
When I play the game now, and I said this earlier, that I don't like it challenges me so much. I know what is happening and how she's doing it, and everything is so wrong that I have a hard time playing it now because I don't want her to do this. It has made its point with me. It is driven home all the things that are wrong about it. Almost like it wants you to say, play this, and once you figure it out, never play it again. I know that's not what it's saying, but that's like something you could interpret of like, good luck playing this game over and over and over again, unless you deeply get satisfaction out of watching. If you're just playing it to crush people and you don't care about the narrative at all, whatever. But she is consumed by hate. They keep talking, and this was part of like listening to them on the podcast, because they did in their minds, and there's probably more to this story, but to hear them say it, they did what they intended it to do, all these different things, and we will get to them, and I will discuss why I don't think that they're right, and I don't know why they're leaving some things out. I also couldn't forget that season 1 had 9 episodes.
Yeah.
This has 7.
Yeah.
And I'm not being greedy here.
No.
I am talking what's good narratively might mean that HBO should have shelled out more money on a winner already. Now, whoever's decision it was, like, again, I said this where it's like, oh, well, you're getting 14 episodes, really, right? Except we don't know when this show's coming back because they haven't filmed season 3. And there is so much that they could have done with at least even one more episode that could have set a lot of more things right, because just because Ellie, there's so much talking, and I can't believe I'm saying that, because I'm all about the creating the character and doing that through dialogue and setting things up. But there's so much talking about the thing and not enough showing. There are so many ways that like I show not tell is good, and sometimes tell not show is also good. But this is a visual medium, and we need to see her downfall better. This has not been some vengeance-fueled season. This has been a lot of talking about the reasons we do things. And I get it. We need that in here. But we also need to be shown just how. But I think they're afraid of making her too unlikable, even if she makes terrible choices. And it's not as if there aren't horrifying things in this episode that doesn't make Ellie go, oh my God, right? What have I done? And there are moments that do like show like how she thinks and feels and is mad. But taken as a whole, it's just not there for what I and apparently a whole lot of other people that have played the games are. But I can separate those two things and still say narratively they really didn't do a good job at showing just how consumed by hate she was. It was done too cutesy, too much humor in situations. And even though, again, Ellie is a character who talks a lot of shit, but I've said, and they've made her kind of dumb, and I've said that, well, she's not really this, but she's also really capable at doing what she does. She might not be the talker that Dina or Jesse is, but as a person who can inflict pain, she is the vessel for that. We are not supposed to just go, oh, honey, stop. Don't do that. But even listening to them talk about it, and I just went, you guys are, it feels like I don't know who told you to dumb this down. I don't know if it was whose decision it was to soften a lot of this up. Again, how do you say it's soft when you see, soldiers beating up a guy and dragging him away? How can you say it's soft when there's a kid telling somebody to execute? It's none of those things are soft. It's how they've written Ellie. And again, if you haven't played the game, you don't know what I'm talking about. Because it's not a Bella Ramsey thing either. I've realized. I thought I wanted to put it like, well, she doesn't emote and blah, blah, but I watch her and I go, she does things with the intent, and she even has that tone of voice that she got her popular on Game of Thrones. She does, but there's just this way about the whole the process of the writing of doing the things that I just don't think they still want to make her like, and there's all these people that keep telling her, hey man, or all these signs that they keep showing that's kind of like, don't do this, Ellie. Go back, Ellie. But again, in the game, there's not that. It is just this relentless path forward of destruction and downfall. It's not that the characters aren't there to also give their 2 cents, but they don't do it as much as they do here. It is like the show is just constantly reminding her and us, we don't want her to do these things. We don't want her to do these things. And it's like, yes, but she still has to do them. And it just, and that's just the surface stuff. And I'll stop talking now so that I can, because there are good moments in this.
Well,
there's plenty to like still. But yeah, okay. I will shut up. I will mute myself. I want to know what you at least first. What did you think of the episode? And then if you want to chime in on any of the things that I just said, because there's a lot more to say.
Sure. Well, I mean, let me come at this as someone who has not played the game. So I don't have that comparative expectation. So I am just going to watch this as, an audience member receiving this story. And look, season 1 was amazing. incredible performances, a great story, super tight. You're telling this story of loss and refound family and people coming together and the horrors of the apocalypse and this new world and all of those things. So again, it's like you have that really tight story that you can push through and tell. And they did it right, going through and covering the whole game in that first season. It moved, it gave it a certain purpose and a certain momentum for everything going forward, even though they took a episode and told a complete side story. It still contributed to the larger world and the feeling, and again, that idea of desperate people coming together and finding that family and finding that love and finding that community and all of that. And yes, it was tragic, and you know that it let, you know, a morsel of story to be told forward. And you always have issues coming into second season. Sometimes they're total bangers, sometimes they're total like missteps. And traditionally you think you're good with your first one, you amp it up for the second. And I don't know if this is a David Zaslav thing. I don't know if this is the current streaming out, but they're falling back on the, well, if it's the last book, how about we split it into 2 movies as opposed to 1? And that is rarely satisfying because there are reasons of whatever structures of stories that you go through. Sometimes you don't commit all the way. Sometimes you undercommit. And I think it always throws certain, it can be very, it disconcerting. It feels just very rough. I think it can be even a little confusing depending on how they structure it and what kind of if they're going to split into 2, how they're going to get those to be complete, satisfying stories unto themselves, as well as part of a larger narrative. For doing a shortened season, this should have been a bigger episode. You should have put your money into this to make it big. Otherwise, the problem is that it feels more like a mid-season finale than a season finale. You know, this is the Christmas break that, oh my God, what happens? But you only got a couple of weeks and then you'll pick it back up, maybe a month break, depending on things, but then you'll get back in. So it's not a huge thing. You can carry stuff over, but it's enough that you can hold on to it. With this being a season finale, though, and them doing the split point of the story, I think they ran into too many issues. I think that the episode itself felt like I was getting a lot of half stories, especially like all of the wolf scenes were like, this is great. And I feel like I should be aware of what they're talking about. And I realize that I don't understand it because I'm not seeing the other side of that story. But then it's just frustrating to me. I'm like, why am I seeing this? Why are you detracting from this story of Ellie? And I think while I like the relationship between her and Dina, there has been too much relationship between her and Dina and not enough of what Ellie's journey is. This episode for Ellie felt very much like, have I gone too far? Am I seeing the price of vengeance? Even when she comes in and tells that first story, which was kind of banger, of like, I got the information and it was too easy. It's like she's feeling like, am I going too far? Am I kind of on the edge? And they play with that, but not in an interesting way. More of just, well, I've got to be swinging in both ways so I can seem like I'm distressed as opposed to actually being confused. It just felt inconsistent with what she was going on. Even so much as like that whole end bit when she gets in the boat and she's heading towards the island. And it's like, it's almost that freaking Monty Python type thing. It's like, oh, head to the boat, and oh no, there's bad guys coming through, gotta hide. Okay, and then I get to the boat, and then I'm going like, oh no, it's a wave. Oh my god, have we lost it? Oh no, she's okay. She just got up into shore. Oh my god, but no, the Seraphites are there. They're gonna kill her. It's like, oh, but there's another attack. So she's free, and then we're back in the boat, and we're go. Why did that even happen? Oh, it's to tell me there's other part of a story happening that I'll understand later, but it just seems unnecessary now. There was too much of that. And then by the time we kind of got to the end, we spent all this nice time learning about Jesse, and he's down. That sucks. And all I'm thinking when they're running up is, no, don't both go through the same exit. You got two different ones. That way, if somebody's there, oh no, because they are, and they waited for you when you're. And even the ending is like, oh, did she shoot Ellie? Of course, she didn't shoot Ellie. That's why. That's a cheap Dallas who shot JR freaking. Oh my God, his liver died. Oh my God, did Hopper die at the end of Stranger Things, or was he somehow knocked into the the Russians he just jumped out of the way and the Russians got him. Okay. None of those are satisfying with how they eventually come out. You're right. Ellie should have been balls to the walls. I don't care about anything else, and obsessing with revenge. And maybe at the end seeing like she's gone too far, but it's just out of all of these, it's like that. To me, that boat sequence should have been like most of the episode, only just like different things she's running into that she's got to keep pushing and so on. Because otherwise, I'm like, but it feels like her story is, oh, revenge is too much, and it's too much of a price to pay. It's like she learns that, and then Abby shows up. But did she? So, without any comparison to the game, I guess my basic summation is there were a lot of good parts, as there always is, but this feels too much like the studio wanting to split this into two halves and then not committing enough with this season so they could still do big stuff next season. How do we save money and stretch out story? To me, is how this season feels. And again, if there were another episode or two, this episode wouldn't have been that bad. This would have been like, oh, it's an edgy type kind of thing. We'll be back next week. This being a season finale should have been much bigger and not so waffly. Because, yeah, there's a lot of talking because that's how you fill in space when you don't want to do big exterior shots or action things or stuff like that. So, yeah.
So, well, to go off of that, right? Off of that last thing about not having enough, like just feeling season 1 managed to, like you said, they give us this episode with Bill and Frank that like, again, in the game, you go find Bill, you work with Bill, you talk with Bill. He's a guy with you for a minute as you're looking for the truck battery that he needs. And all you know about Frank is this. They find this. I think they talk about him a little bit in passing. And then you find this guy hanging in a house. And there's all this kind of subtext to their relationship. And you're like, okay. And what they do with it in the show is so beyond great. And how it's not really, like, oh no, we missed out on the whole sneaking into the school and fighting bloaters and clickers with Bill and his whole town full of, booby traps and everything. But instead they give us this great story about two people and how they knew Joel. But it really is about love and so much more than that. Because we're here to talk about this, and I want to get too sidetracked. But I mean, they took the time to tell us this. They took the time to make Henry and Sam more than just two people on the run from the first game. They tell us more about them. They make Sam deaf, which was such an interesting and well done choice. and more heartbreaking. And they gave like certain areas, like with Melanie Linsky's thing, and how they just developed and put and filled in the blanks as they were going along, and they did it in 9 episodes, and they gave you like a satisfying thing. Like I did want more, but that's because they were doing it so good. I was like, man, there was like, they could have done this over here, and maybe they could have stretched out this over here. Maybe we could have seen, but it was pretty much perfect. And there's nothing like that in this. Nothing like that in this, except for here's a scene so that you see who the scars are. And, oh, we want you to now be afraid of the wolves because of this scene. And then we see what the scars do later. And then we go, oh, well, this is why you should be scared of the scars too. That's not a storyline. That's not an arc. That's just stuff that's going on. And in the Jackson stuff, like I said, I love that. Right. That is how you do the expanded stuff. But I'd have thrown that whole sequence away if they just did the game. Well, almost like they did in the first season. If they just did the game, that's the adaptation. But again, it's because, you know, Neil Druckmann's involved and Craig Mazin's involved, and they did prove it in season 1, and they're really trying something here, and I know they are, and they're being so happy that they get to do it. It's infectious, and I want to listen to them, and I hear their explanations, and I still think that there's a whole lot of stuff at the higher level that they don't get to talk about right now. Right. About how the show got made, the decisions that not everything was gone through them, right? It's not like HBO just said, here's a blank check, you guys can do whatever you want. They got to do a lot, but I have a feeling that eventually we're going to start hearing more about like the actual like the hindrances, and maybe some people saying, but I mean, I do like that they like what they've made. And I do think that there's a lot still to praise. Now, also going off of a big thing from that first scene where she tells Dina everything. Right. About how she knew, you know, I didn't know those people, you know, but I knew what he had done. Okay. Here's a really interesting thing about the difference between the show and the games. Not even Joel finds out why Abby did what she did. Joel has no idea why Abby killed him. Ellie never finds out why Abby's after Joel. Ever.
Oh, that's a huge difference.
Yes.
That is a huge difference. Because that's almost what affects Dina's whole reaction to hearing this story, is that she knows why and what goes on. And I mean, again, you agree or disagree, but that's part of the problem, is there's a lot of waffling of do we or do we not? Oh, I'm with you, but now I'm not. But yeah, that's a huge motivational difference, because it changes it from a revenge thing to, well, like something bigger.
Yeah. And so it's done on purpose so that Dina has to be like, okay, we're again, like the show wants out of this. Like, okay, this is how we get Dina to want to go home. Forget the fact that she was out there pregnant already and took an arrow to the leg. She was still probably like, I mean, after her wound, she wasn't going to go out anymore, but it wasn't like she was against the mission. She even, you know, when she says like, well, Nora probably had it coming, right? To leave her there like that instead of finishing her off. And I know that this is all supposed to like show this whole scene is supposed to show that that Ellie's waffling on things, but she shouldn't be waffling.
Well, to me, that's the problem. There's too much of this type of stuff. Like, well, it seems like you're seeing that the price that you're paying to yourself isn't something that you want to pay. But then it's like there's nothing that really kind of commits to that. Then, it's like the next scene, it's like, well, gotta go after there. And it's like, oh, maybe this is too much. And it's like, well, gotta go after my revenge. It's like, make up your mind or make it a smoother, conflict. Like for me, the whole scene at the end where she's there with Jesse, and like, there's the wheel, but there's Tommy, but there's the wheel, but there's Tommy, and they split right there. There shouldn't have been that. If that's going to be kind of if they're trying to show that she can't just let it go, she should have started going to see with Tommy and then just kept thinking off like it more of a struggle, because otherwise it's like, oh, maybe I'm doing too much. Oh, but there she is and I'm going after her. And then again, immediately after that, when she kills them both and can't get the baby out and all, then it's like, oh, maybe I've gone too far. But then it's like, well, are you committed or not? Are you leaving? Even by the end, I'm not really sure what her choice is. So, yes, why is she waffling? What is the arc they're trying to tell for Ellie with this? Because I'm not sure that it's a clean one or it's a committed to viewpoint.
Yeah. Because I don't have that conflict when I'm playing the game. I feel her lack of conflict in doing it. The conflict comes from me not wanting to do what the character is going to do. So,
well, and it makes Jesse and Tommy there just to stop them and bring them back, as opposed to go and help or to be an alternate force that is going on and happening. She's on her own revenge mission, but Tommy is way ahead of her, and she's just like catching up. Like, oh my God, will I get to get my revenge? Before Tommy does. I mean, again, you can go a couple of different ways, but here, I'm like, you guys came all the way out here, and I'm glad that you saved her, and we're glad that you saved her. But is it just to get them and go back? Because you're already in fucking Seattle. Are you just going to commit to getting the job done or fighting things out? It's...
Now,
yeah.
to like kind of cleanse the palate or whatever, I do think that those scenes were beautifully done. Like the beginning scene with her leg, with the explanation, the showing all the wounds on Ellie's back, all that stuff. It's all really well done. It's just and again, until she starts telling her the whole story, I was on board,
right,
for that scene. Even the Tommy thing when they go and split, and he splits up, how Tommy finds, there's certain things now I don't even think can happen now,
right,
because of how they've done things or changed a few things, which is fine. I love listening to people talk about how, oh man, I can't wait for us to get more Tommy, and it's like, you're gonna be waiting a really long time. Because Tommy is just like the first game, is not really in this very much. If they decide to expand that, I mean, they gave him the Jackson thing. That's the most Tommy has gotten since episode 6 of the first season. Okay. And they cast a really good actor. They cast all these really good actors that maybe only get 1 or 2 scenes in this entire show. So I don't expect much from Tommy for next season. There'll be some, but I still don't think it's going to be a lot. And how that whole sniping thing ends, like I said, I'll be really curious to see how they pull that part. I really don't know how they're going to pull that off.
Well, again, it's almost like we have to wait till next season to actually judge this season, because they've intentionally designed it to be half of the story that we will get the other half of in season 1. And they've taken scenes and introduced them and done that and introduced things so that we can be aware of them. But look, as much as I love Jeffrey Wright, man, he's kind of unnecessary this whole season. He doesn't do anything that interacts with our protagonist at all. And we're not really telling Abby's story. So you're right. We should know nothing about the wolves or the scarabs or any of that stuff if you're going to commit to Abby's point of view. But you're not. So I don't know what you're doing all this other stuff for. I guess I will next season.
Yeah, establishing early and again, this is how they do things in television, right? Like they have to show you certain things, like how you're introduced to the scars in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You hear a whistle and an arrow comes out of nowhere and hits you, and that's how you find out about the scars. It's not you are immediately attacked and you have no idea what's going on. You are just as confused as her. It's meant to rattle you as a player and as for the character. You're in the same boat.
Sure.
But again, we talk and let's just show this and but you're right.
It's like we
Isaac,
don't have the same horror element.
Etienne Park doesn't need to be there because it has nothing to do with Ellie.
Yeah.
And that's not the only. Okay, you want to know about a scene that shouldn't exist?
Sure.
Here we go.
Let's go.
Okay, well, first off, the whole, like, how they explain the whale wheel thing, like that she'd beaten her so much to death that she didn't know how to say the word aquarium. But she did know how to say, well, let's see. There's a wheel. I can't remember how to say Ferris wheel. And I think there's a picture of
alliteration is the only thing you get when you're dying. Everything has to,
Yeah, it's all flashes of like her life was flashing before her eyes, but unfortunately it was just the aquarium, and she was only able to see it from a distance. Who would even know that whale was there unless you're looking at it from a certain angle? Anyway, when she gets in the boat, okay, that's in the game. The rogue waves are a thing. You got to like suddenly turn your boat a different way so that you don't go under. Except in the game, you're going under eventually. You can try your best, but you go under. But you still get to the aquarium. There is no stop at Scar Island.
Yeah, that's like...
That did not happen. And worse, this is worse. The very first piece, I believe this is accurate. When the very first piece of media content we got of The Last of Us Part 2, which we didn't even know what we were looking at, I don't think. I think people knew. It was like, oh, I think this is going to be The Last of Us 2. It was like a Naughty Dog presentation of the scene where Abby gets in that scene. The first thing we see is this big muscly lady in the woods with these weirdos. We don't know who they are. They're stringing up some guy, and we're like, what the heck is going on? And Abby ends up being the one strung up, and she gets this whole thing, not with the kid, which was creepy, and that was creepy. And it says a whole lot about religion indoctrination. But that scene that happens to Abby. It doesn't happen to Ellie. They gave, and at the end of the episode, and there were people pointing this out, you could see the noose marks around Abby's neck. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing again? We're going to, you know what I mean? Abby's got to have her noose moment. Why?
Yeah.
Why does Ellie need to have this side quest? Want to know why? Because earlier, when Jesse and her see the used to be green wet behind the ears soldier,
right,
who's now attacking that Scar and stripping him down and everything, and she wants to go kill them, which would have been amazing time to do some action. There's 6 of them and 2 of us. How about you act like not that you're in a show and you can kill a bunch of people? I don't know. Maybe write a scene where you take out 6 guys. Maybe this show has done a lot, like you has had a lot worse odds than 6 guys to 2, especially when they're capable and they know and you don't know that they're coming. Anyway, missed opportunity. But it was just like, so they get the argument, right? Like, he wasn't part of your community, so who gives a shit? Like, he's just a kid. They show the scar, like being bullied and going to be murdered by the wolves. And what she has seen of them is like, oh, you know, but she's also seen them. She's seen the other side of it. So why do we need to see it up close? Why does she need to have this whole thing where she ends up with the noose around her neck, except to show, oh yeah, that's right. These people are just as bad or as capable as the wolves or anybody else at extreme violence, and they have their children involved.
Yeah, but we don't
doesn't need to
care.
be here.
Oh.
That is a whole sidetrack thing that just doesn't make sense, and you take away from the important. It's very important to Abby's arc that happens. It is part of what her journey is. And when you see it when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, this is going to be intense. I don't know who that muscle bound girl is, but there's some Last of Us Part 2 ain't fucking around. And then when you see it in the same scene play out in the game, you go, oh my gosh, all right, it's so much more impactful because of what it means for this person.
Sure.
But it doesn't mean anything to Ellie other than to tell the audience that Ellie now knows, oh yeah, all of this is bad, even though Jesse already told her that. Well, these people are killing each other, ripping each other's guts out.
Dina got hit by an arrow. They saw the gutting. They had to run. It's like you've already been exposed to how bad this is.
Yes. And the show is telling her, don't do this. Don't do this. Everything, everywhere we turn and look. Everything and everywhere is giving signs to Ellie that she shouldn't do this. But it's like, how many signs do they need when we all know where it's still going to go? That piling on of unnecessary stuff, it doesn't make any sense. Even though, again, all these are really well acted scenes. I really like Jesse, even though, yes, it's something that we haven't talked about, and it's something that it should have been one of the easiest dunks that we could have talked about in this episode, which is, I promise I will never die.
Oh,
okay. There's a lot about, if you think about Owen being a possible father, Jesse being a possible father, Dina and Ellie thinking about parental stuff, how Joel was to her and how that parental part of it, Tommy thinking about his own kid. There's a lot of that kind of stuff of what we would do for each other in here, and that's great. But kind of lost my train of thought there for a second.
Don't spend all this time building up this big conversation, which you're filling with all these intense relationship conversations. And I honestly like Jesse being smart and sorting things out and seeing things. The fact that he even played the idea is like, I could see that she's pregnant. How did you figure it out? Oh, you were guessing? I was like, look, I like a smart person and for them doing. But it's like you build up all of these things and then you take them out so stupidly.
Yeah. Well, he does go out like that in the game.
Sure.
But he's all the talk of, I can't die. I'm not dying out here. I'm not dying for this. And just all the
I've been
different
waiting
things,
for Dina and him to die. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And it's just literally he's got so much to say. What does that usually mean for a character? They even, in the trailer for last week, they were like, you hear him go, I can't, I'm not dying out here. And then to me, it was solidified when I saw them running up the theater ramp and went, that's when I knew. All right. I told Bill this already. I was like, this is how the episode's going to end. This is how the season's going to end. Abby's going to have the drop on everybody. We're going to cut to black right then. and then maybe we'll get some kind of stinger of what's to come. Perfectly called this.
Yeah. Is
But
this where you
all that
thought it was?
talk,
Yeah.
It was just by the numbers, I'm a dead character. And they telegraphed that so fucking hard. Now, Bill, I also want to bring up, they also telegraphed, I liked how they did this. The book I even showed my sister when I was rewatching it, like, look at that book. You remember that book from when we were kids?
Mm-hmm.
The one from Sesame Street, the golden book. There's a monster at the end of this book. I went back in time.
Oh no!
When I saw that shit.
That was great, and I'm just like, Jesse, how do you know about that book?
It's like, I even think that I said, I don't know, it might be buried in some box somewhere, but I think every kid at a certain point has read that book, and it's still a book I think that people still read today. And what I like about it, again, it's like, it's in the children's section, it's a Grover book, but the book is about like Grover telling you, don't read this book because there's a monster at the end of it. And you could say that at the end of this book, it's Ellie is the monster, even though.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Total projection there. Very.
Yeah. But
very...
I thought that what a weird and a wonderful way to like throw us a weird book out of nowhere. I like that. See, those are things that I like. Those are things that expand and touch on themes of what Ellie's doing and how she can look at things and still just. And there are moments in this where she, that are the same as the game, where it looks like she's kind of maybe thinking about like not doing it. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as Abby gets brought up, though, complete 180 rage. And what I love about that rage in the game is that, again, she doesn't even know why she's doing it. Just that somebody came into my home and killed my father in front of me. And again, much more impactful when you don't have all that. Not everything, like I said, not everything needs to be tell, don't show, and not everything needs to be show, not tell. There's a balance, and this show, I think, just somehow got lost in a lot of that. What works? What should we show, and what should we tell?
Right.
And I think that they kind of went off the rails on that. Let's see. I did like, I also like that Jesse was, I knew this too. I was like, there's no way that Jesse voted for her to kill anybody. He's too good. So when they found that out, wasn't a big surprise to me. And let's get to the death of Owen and Mel, because they did spare us the scene where Ellie has to kill a dog.
Well, good, because I mean that's crossing the line. Really.
Well, it's like, this. Without context, right, is how it happens. Is that she gets into somewhere and all of a sudden a dog's attacking her, and there are other dogs in the game, and I swear that's the worst part, man. Is like you can't just choose like maybe to throw some bait out or something to like at the end, or like throw a bolo around its legs. No, every time a dog shows up in this game, you're gonna have to kill it.
Sure.
But this one, when it in the context of the game, is that this dog is their dog. It's trained to go after scars and protect them. It's just a dog. It can't. It's not its fault who owns it.
Of course.
So they spared us that, especially when you find out how cute and nice the dog is, and what we're going to find out in season 3 is, look at that cute little doggy. Oh yeah, look at him go after those bad scars, and look at how it's all super nice otherwise, and get ready to, but we won't have to deal with that. So we're spared that.
Yeah, okay, good.
We're not spared, because Owen in the game, they basically go through the same thing, just it's in a different looking room. Mark, she tries to do the map thing. Now, one of the things I do like is that she's not Joel.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as she tries to be like Joel, she's not. she's filled with all of this, but like Joel would have found Abby by now. All this would be moot. But Mel gets, like, there's a struggle, and Mel gets knocked down because Owen goes for the gun and he gets shot. That's right. There's a struggle. Owen goes for the gun. Boom, he gets shot. And then Ellie straight up stabs Mel in the throat from the side. She goes down, like right here, stabs her in the neck, rolls over. Then we see that she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And it's over. There is nobody telling her how to do surgery or give him an emergency C-section. But it's still like, it is that moment where Ellie goes, knowing that Dina's pregnant, knowing all of this, and just being like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like the PTSD that she already had, out the window. And they do it here basically the same, except they, again, soften the blow somehow. They make it accidental, not intentional. So it's, oh, even though I don't know why this doctor didn't, and maybe because I don't know gunshot wounds, but I don't know why she didn't try to do something with her neck. Anyway, I don't know if that would have helped.
It's a magic bullet. It's a magic bullet.
All right. She just like goes, Again, I've never been shot. I've never shot anyone. So I don't know anything about, like how to handle this. But again, it lets Ellie off the hook. It lets us go, okay, yeah, he went for the gun, so fair play, right? It was stupid. Again, he's a dad, a potential dad. Shit, I'm spoiling that. He's the dad of Mel's baby. Sorry.
Sure.
Okay.
That feels right anyway.
Sorry. Anyway.
Told you there's spoilers.
I said spoilers for everything.
Yeah.
So again, he's a dad making a choice. He thinks he's going to make the right choice. He thinks maybe I can get us out of this. And he loses. He rolls the dice. He loses. It was really stupid, by the way. That gun was nowhere. Anyway, I just still feel like it gets Ellie to the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy and Jesse show up out of nowhere, which also I don't remember it being. I don't know if Tommy and Jesse showed up at the same time in the game. I really can't remember that. I don't know why. I just played the damn thing. But it does get Ellie to go, okay, we're done. I'm done. And we go back. But I still, like, again. And then they do the whole thing where she's telling her how to cut out the baby, and it makes it even more traumatic. So it was like, okay, we've already got the traumatic scene from this, but now we see like Ellie fail at saving this life that maybe she could have. Like, she can handle all sorts of stuff, but she can't handle cutting out a baby. She doesn't know what any of it means. She's freaked out. She's scared. I even understand this. Like the absolute paralyzing fear of like, I know she's dead, but what if I stab the baby? What if I make it, like.
Well, look, I know about anatomy, and I wouldn't have been comfortable doing the damn thing. I mean, it's definitely more realistic that she doesn't try to cut her open than that she would actually try to in those circumstances. I mean, also, how far along is the baby? Is it premature? Is it going to live? What can you do with it? Now what are you going to do with a baby? And
I mean, I feel like it's almost disgusting for me, like, to be talking about it like this, because it's like, what's the better way to kill a baby and more, like, you know what I'm saying? But it was in service. The problem is it was in service of softening up the main character so that she wasn't looked at any worse than people are looking at her now. The intent that was not there in the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the whole thing, is her intent to kill every single one of them. And since she didn't know she was pregnant, but it's still this like whole talking it out thing where she's like, I'm not like you guys. That's what she tells herself, but she would have just done it. And that just, to me, goes against the character and what the story is telling. Who made that decision? Who made the decisions to keep softening it up is a question I would like to ask somebody, but I'd be embarrassed to. I would not want to ask the creators, like, how come you didn't make her more homicidal in the show than
she's too committed to be waffling.
Yeah.
And if she was waffling, then she shouldn't necessarily be in these situations, because the other problem that they give with her is she's so reckless. She is like the worst at stealth, with flashlights and breaking windows and falling in and knocking stuff. And it's just the fact that she wasn't caught like 5 different times, honestly, kind of amazed me. I guess she was, but then she got away because, plot reasons. Yeah, they don't really feel like they committed to, like I said, what is Ellie's journey in this? Where is she supposed to be? What is her arc? Where is she at the end? Is she like supposed to be ready to go home or not? Was this the thing, like you said, that turned her around and was like, all right, now I'm done with it? Or is she going to go psycho the next time she hear Abby's name? To me, there wasn't a certain clarity to it. And I think that clarity didn't achieve because she was going back and forth so much throughout the episode. And not like, oh, I shouldn't. I got to think of the people around me. Vengeance is costing too much. Got to save Tommy. That's right. Fuck, but it's right. Fuck. I can't. I got to go. More of that type of struggle would make sense. Here, it's just waffling.
Yeah. So in the end, I guess for me, I have to then I go, okay, so after, again, I keep saying the podcast. They accomplished, from listening to them, they accomplished what they wanted to get across. They explain it all really well at what they did and why.
Okay.
But because, I mean, again, these guys make good decisions. They're good writers. They're good creators. They know good from bad writing. So then how does this happen? Because through the whole thing, it was like kiss ass. It was kissing ass throughout the entire podcast of this. And maybe, when you're all working together and you have no choice because the overlords at Warner Brothers or whoever the fuck owns Max or HBO or whatever they're calling it, whoever's making these decisions, well, I mean, no. James Gunn doesn't run every department of Warner Brothers. So
they have to put a positive spin on things.
And then we talk about, like, and I think this was part of Mark from Enchantment of Eternity's video about not finishing stories. Like you said, why are we breaking this up? I could already start coming up with ways that this could be one season in my head, knowing what they are capable of because they did it already. And let me tell you something. I don't think it's going to be as satisfying as maybe they think it's going to be when they do the 3rd season. Because if we already lost who, I mean, I'm sure that some of the audience jumped ship when Joel died.
Oh, yeah.
It made me think of how people jumped ship at the season 6 premiere of Walking Dead after, I won't spoil that in case somebody out there doesn't know. But like when they off a couple of people, and the way that they did, it was too much for some people to handle.
I know a number of people that left after that. Yeah.
And it wasn't just about I think it was also about the people who died. It was like, come on, So some people were going to leave because of Joel dying. Now imagine how many people are going to jump ship when Ellie, the other half of Joel and Ellie that started The Last of Us, the reason people watch it, are going to be just like I was, everybody that played the game, when we are just watching Abby's journey. No Ellie, no Jesse, no Dina, no, probably some Tommy. That'll be somebody to look, but that's not Ellie. We're gonna watch. Yeah, we've got Isaac in there. We've got all the scars and the wolves, and we're gonna find out all about Abby's world. And we're gonna have her own thing. Like in the game, you don't know why Abby's doing what she's doing either, until they show us later in her arc. Now, I think it's pretty easy. I don't think it's that big a mystery as I've heard some people talk about the mystery of what like what Joel did, like the knowing of all this. Right. I think it's pretty easy to tell that if somebody came to town to kill Joel, it's probably because of what he did at the hospital. Okay, they could have written it in any number of ways, but I mean, the most impactful thing that happened was a doctor dies, and now they can't cure the world. And then a young girl shows up and kills him.
Right.
So we're going to be following around a person that everybody hates just so that they can tell the story of why you shouldn't hate her.
Yeah, see, that becomes part of the problem is like, well, so why do I care?
And it's like, yeah, I think it teaches empathy and to see, different sides of the coin or whatever, and her own growth, her character. But like, what do we even have to really be interested in?
Well, yeah, what is drawing us to the whole Seattle thing? Why do we care about the wolves or anything? The only reason that we cared about them is there are obstacles for Ellie to get past. Now they're like, now we're going to stop and tell you the story of the wolves and the Seraphites and how Seattle was based. We're like, do I give a shit? Do I,
It took me till the almost near the end of the game to finally come to terms with my feelings about playing as Abby.
Sure.
Switching over and going, oh my God, am I ever going back to Ellie? Am I ever going back there? Just kept going and going. I remember having conversations about, well, I think in chapter such and such with the group that, with the Discord group, everybody trying to tell me like, like it's got to end sometime, Rob, and going through that journey though made me go, okay, I finally see this. And playing it the second time, I was like, oh my God, and the third time I was really, wow, Abby's journey is so powerful and good for the character, what happens to Abby. But I don't know how many people are really going to care, especially if they have to wait 2 years for it.
And even with their little stinger at the end, it's like, if you're going to do that, then you need to give me the fucking Joel's father scene. You need to give me 4 minutes that makes me care about seeing her story in Seattle. And they did not do that. And because you're right. So now it's like we go into season 3. It's like, oh, and now we're going to see Abby's story. I mean, I'm, of course, going to watch it because I'm committed and all that. And the show still has a level of trust. But as an average audience member, might I be like, oh, so it's a whole new story now? Is that it? Are they dead? Is this we moving on? Do I want to do this? Is The Walking Dead? Are they at Hilltop now? Do I care about the Hilltop family? That's unfortunately where I think that they may be, especially if we have to wait 2 years for the next season.
I think narratively they made a mistake right at the very beginning, where they, again, and we talked about this in this video of knowing why Abby's there, showing us that. How were we introduced to Abby? Standing around a bunch of graves talking about her dad and everybody in Salt Lake. The first time we should have been introduced to these people should have just been them in the mountains. And because honestly, we really don't get a lot of characterization for any of these characters. We get baseline stuff like, okay, this guy's the dick, this guy's the cocky ladies man, this guy's the smart, soulful one, this one's the driven, serious one who's gonna, this one's the quiet doctor. Okay, so even the game didn't do the best at building these people into characters, but when you make them show characters, you get a better opportunity to do it, and they really didn't do it. So who cares? Like, if we're gonna get all their character in season 3, then who cares about their characterizations in the first season? It's the same thing with like the scars. We get introduced them, we get some conflicting feelings, but we aren't going to find out any of that till season 3. So really, it should have been more vague. Ellie's interactions with the scars should have been just like in the games. What is happening? So that we, the audience, would be like, what is happening? Instead, they start explaining everything to us. And it's like, the game doesn't do that, but because it's the switch to TV, I guess they feel like they have to. And in some things, that's right. But when you look at the way that this story is, it's wrong in this case. In this case, I want to preface a lot of this stuff, because I'm not making a blanket statement. Anybody that knows me knows about how I feel about these kind of things. But in this particular case, the way that they did it just doesn't, it makes you even lose tension, because there should be a mystery to why Abby's doing this. Even if it's to somebody like me who, like, even like if I, playing the game, I would have known, but I would have been able to like sit back and watch you squirm more. You know what I mean? I don't mean that like as far as like content, like watching Darren like not know things, but I would have loved to watch you like figure out the mystery and be, like when you were talking about how, like you're worried about Dina dying, and I'm like, oh, I get to see how every episode that goes along, I get to see Darren's reaction to more like, like it's fun to watch somebody piece, together these things.
Oh yeah.
So
totally.
There's no mystery. There's none. They've removed all the mystique from the game, from the story, by telling you everything up front. Oh, except we don't know everything about the scars. Who gives a fuck? We don't know everything about the wolves. Who gives a fuck about that too? We've had all these, and not every character needs to have something. Like I even like in Andor, the concierge guy or whatever, the bellhop. One scene, I thought, okay, that's all we needed. Yeah, we got 2, and it was like, okay, cool. They gave the guy a little second chance. Nice. In this, you get Haitian Park, who has this great scene. She shouldn't even have been in the rest of it until she shows up in like season 3.
Yeah, because
that scene with Isaac, get rid of it. Think about all the things it could have gotten rid of and what they could have put in instead.
Well, I almost feel like they could have done this whole, parts 1 and the whole of part 2 in like a 10 episode season. Like if they gave them one more episode and they cleaned stuff up, they probably could have done the whole thing. And then I would have been fine. Like, oh, at episode 6, Ellie is shot, and the next thing, then we go back to Abby. Okay, well then you'll pull me in and I'll be right there. And then we loop back around by 10. Again, I'm only guessing with how they're pacing stuff, but it feels like, again, that's what annoys me. It's like, well, you could have done 1 season, but it'd be better to split it into 2. So we got to kind of stretch this stuff out and fill this in and then set things up that way. So, yeah, it's like, that's why I'm saying it's going to be a shame that we can't even really judge how this season did without seeing the next season. Because maybe it'll all fit in and it'll be perfect. But
it's not. They've done damage.
They've done damage running into Westworld stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go into Westworld.
They can make a good season and say, okay, it improves the mess that they made of season 2. And again, when I say mess, I make it sound like it's all horrible, but it's not. It's just, this was a complicated one because it is like all the other controversies surrounding all this thing. And I really thought that they were going to nail this, but it was concerning throughout. I was holding back. I was making excuses because I was enjoying it. But now when it's over and I have to stand back and look at it, this is what I'm left with.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm not as excited about going into season 3, not just because I know where the story and the game goes, but more like how are they going to continue to do the same thing that they did here, there? And I don't know. I don't know now. I will definitely be covering it still because I
Sure.
just, it's like, I'll be mesmerized by it, even if it's, but the thing is, it's not going to be bad. That's the other thing. It's not even going to be bad. It just might not be, I guess it's just, again, for anybody who watches this show and never played any of the games and any of that stuff, this is a really good show, and you should be glad that you watch it. And you should be glad that you like it or love it. And as a fan of both, I can separate the two and go, this is a really good show. But this is like, when you look at what was so right, and again, in a complicated game, very, people call it the most controversial game of all time. I don't think that's true, but like, I think it's just recent memory. It's one of the best narrative games that has ever come out, and somehow the people who wrote the narrative got lost somehow in it. Trying to tell like different stories, expand on stories, but again, at the heart of it is, if you don't get Ellie right, it for anybody who doesn't know, this is probably fine. They probably are like, oh man, I really thought I was gonna hate Ellie. I don't want to hate Ellie, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I don't even hate Ellie. You know what I mean? Like for what's going on. It's more complicated than that. It's about watching, like, caring about somebody that's not even real make choices that they shouldn't make. And it's like, when they can
Right.
suck you in like that, it matters then. And so I'm wrong that it's like I was complaining about Bella Ramsey. It's not her. It's the people who made it. And unfortunately, as many things as they got right, the things that they got wrong, or that's not the right word, the things that myself don't like, and apparently a bunch of other people didn't like either. Because again, I think that if you do like this, there's nothing absolutely at all wrong about it. Maybe it touched you in a way that you needed to hear it like this. But for me, this journey isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to make you feel like shit. And I know that games are an escape. And this game, I think a lot of people felt betrayed because it's a game that like a lot of real people don't like consequences to their actions and what they do or say. One of the biggest problems we have today is people complaining about how I don't understand why I have consequences for the shitty things I say and do. So when this game comes out and makes you feel like shit because of the things that you do in a game, a lot of these people can't handle that, because I play games so I can just shoot and kill and maim without, why is GTA so popular? It's because people do get to like act out their fucking crazy ass, fantasies of like in game, where none of this, we all know it's not real, so it doesn't matter, and blah 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 blah. But this game is supposed to make you feel things and make you question things, and it's done a good job to, I think, regular ass audiences that do like this show and appreciate what they've done here. And I'm glad on that count. For all those people that just like this because, for whatever reason, I like this because in more ways than not, I enjoyed it. I like looking at it as a separate thing. Boy, do I love the games even more now. After like, I'm not going to complain as much in my head of like, oh well, I don't like doing it because hey, at least I'm getting the experience that I want, even though that
Right.
experience, like I've said, is a hard to do thing. So I just wish that they would give the audience a chance to make up their own mind on whether, you know what I mean, like show them what was really intended and let them figure it out. Let them decide. Let them be mad. Was it because you did, that the people at Warner Brothers knew about the controversy that they were like, look, we don't want it. We've already got enough problems. We don't need The Last of Us making us look like a bunch of woke people or something like that. For whatever reason, it failed on that metric for me, and it makes it like I will rewatch The Last of Us season 1 over and over and over and over again, and I might even watch parts of this, but just not as often.
Yeah, it's a good season. It doesn't match up with what season was one. It doesn't have that same full story. It doesn't have that same satisfaction.
Was something going on specific, and in this, like, there's a lot of just aimless looking around and talking about our feelings. And again, I love dialogue, but there has to be the other part of this. Yeah. For every conversation that makes you go, oh yes, I feel, oh yeah. There needs to be another scene that makes you go, oh my God. And there's just not enough of that. And again, I'm not promoting violence for the sake of violence. It's integral to this story, though.
Well, let me ask you, Rob, before we saw the episode, we talked last week, and I was like, do you see a place where they could be ending? Do you have like where they could get there? What were you envisioning versus what we ended up seeing?
The ending was exactly
right. So you knew that was going to be the point where they were going to end up at.
I figured narratively it makes sense because in the game is a big shift and you suddenly switch. It's like it's perfect, really.
Sure.
It's just that it would have, again, that to me I'd be more psyched if going into the third season, I felt like they had done the second season arc for Ellie better than they did. Because now I'm leaving with like kind of this like
right. Okay.
And I mean, I am curious to see how they're going to handle Abby. Because Caitlin Dever is a really good actress.
Oh yeah, she's phenomenal.
And there's going to be a lot of stuff for her to do, and she's going to go through a lot. And hopefully maybe they'll even give her some really cool clicker stuff that's from the game. There's a lot of really intense shit that happens in Abby's side of the game. Now, again, how much of that is even going to be in this? Or are we going to be just walking through the woods talking about our feelings? About life, the world, and everything. And again, that is not always a bad thing. There just needs to be a balance in a story like this. The extremes are always happening. And instead, what they've given us is when they really want to hammer home something, then they go for it. But even then, like I said, intent. They couldn't even do that.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like I can see there's stuff happening, and I should be curious about those things and intrigued to follow up what those things mean or what's going on or what this world is or anything. Unfortunately, just to me, the way they were presented, it's more like, oh, that's the other side of the story I don't know yet. I'm not curious about it. I know I'll see it. It's more of just, oh, that's in the way. again, it's not doing the draw effect that I think that they were hoping that it would do. And again, we're talking a lot of shit. Still good. All still good. Dude, that one shot when she's in the ocean and the storm's behind the city and she's going across, I was just like, yeah, see, this is the look and the feel of what I would expect. It's like, yeah, but I got the one shot and that was it.
No,
I just wanted
even
more of
like
that.
when she's taken by the scars. It's amazingly done. Her freak out noises of, oh my God, I'm going to die right here. I went in a boat to go after Abby, and now I'm on some shore where I'm about to be hung and die. And then after again, them saying, well, this is again the universe saying you should just go home.
Yeah.
And that doesn't detract her. So again, that's what they wanted to say, is that even that didn't make her go home. And it's like, but we didn't need that. She wasn't going to go home anyway. So why, even as well done as it is, the weird, creepy lady with the, in the light, the way that the forest looks and everything, these people that just come out of nowhere. I told you, man, I hate whistling, and I hate whistling. It even more.
I get it, man. I get it now. Jeez.
But like, it's like their excuse, the reasons that they come up with to change this or that now is just more like, you're just chipping away at your own story. Mm-hmm. Like, why are you changing your story when you guys are so proud of it? You know what I mean? Unless someone told you to, or you went, I want to give the viewers something different. Because, I mean, Kirkman did that too for Walking Dead. He did that too, but like, it also didn't really work when he did it.
Right.
And so, or they go too far the other way. Hence, 2 deaths with Negan instead of 1. And it blew up in their face. And it was kind of the beginning of the end for The Walking Dead at that moment.
Oh, yeah. Crossed the line.
And it shouldn't have been. So, again, this is not the only show to do these things. And hopefully maybe they'll hear enough of us. And not in that way, like where it's like change Mass Effect 3's ending because we're a bunch of just, I didn't like this anymore. I don't want them to do that. I just want them to hear, like, don't sacrifice your characters, for the sake of the audience. Be brave and put it all out there. That's kind of what this show is supposed to do. It's not the Walking Dead. It's The Last of Us. There's a seriousness and a stake to this world that, like, I don't even think that they've really approached about how few people are left, and we're still killing each other. And I don't know, like, just stick to that, man.
Yeah, because that
find the beauty in the ugliness, and at the end of the day, at the end of The Last of Us Part 2, man, it's still, and it's why it's so important that last scene should have been the last scene in the show. I mean, think about this, man. If you're watching all the way to the end of season 3, right? And there's been so much happening, and that whole her walking away at the porch scene has gone from your memory practically, because you've seen all sorts of other stuff. And then the show ends where you're like, you think it's over, and then we're back on the porch after all this time. And then we get the truth. Mm-hmm. Then we get the real stuff. The whole point of the story. And that's what I think they got to get back on track on. Is the story from the game is just fine, guys. And people can handle a lot more than you'd think. Surprisingly. Yeah. Surprisingly, sometimes audiences do surprise you and actually like something that's good. And it pulled no punches. Like that movie, like, I mean, like the movie that's blowing up right now with that Sinners. I haven't seen it, but I've heard enough about it to go, yeah, I think there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in that. And yeah, whatever, the supernatural elements. But what it's trying to say doesn't sound like it's messing around. and it doesn't seem to be afraid of its audience or care. Tell the story you want to tell. If people don't like it, that's their problem, not yours. Maybe they don't want, like, I know that so much, everything basically in this business is just money, 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 money. You have to prove something's a success or you don't get to do it again. Every once in a while, somebody who produces things lets something go on out of the sheer love of it because they don't want it to end and they believe in it, even if audiences don't. And I think that that's something that this show and anybody who makes things needs to do more, is don't sacrifice your characters and your story for the audience that doesn't know the IP, or you don't think that people can handle it, or you're afraid they're going to hate your main character. The best thing you can do is have people talking, whether it's good or bad. If people are talking about your shit, that's positive. There's no such thing as bad PR, they say. So there's shows that stay on the air, I think, just because of the negative shit that people say, that talk crap about some show, because guess what? They hate watch it. And so they keep shows on the air still, because people will sit there and watch anything sometimes. So that's my 2 cents, man. I would tell them, you guys didn't care the first time around when you made the games. Don't care now. Stop caring about whether or not we can handle it. Make your character the way that she is. Stop running away from that.
Be bold, damn it. Yeah. No, I mean, I can't really add anything else. I mean, I think we kind of hit it all. A lot of good moments in this. I think great performances. I think production quality is all amazing. I mean, again, it's good. It's just that the first season was so complete and such high as this one is just. I think you
needed at least 2 more episodes, maybe 1.
Yeah.
The greediness of cutting it up, making it feel even more like, oh, award season or whatever the hell reason. We only have enough money. We don't know, like, whatever reasons they have. I just so
yeah. That's it.
I'm like running out of gas, I think, because I've just been like thinking about this all day long. I'm not going to credit all the people I watch, because I didn't agree with a lot of what they said, because I do think that they get married into one thing. And especially people that already didn't like the game and then watch the show and go, I don't like the show either, but let me tell you why. And then go, well, wait, it sounds like you do like it, sort of, but you don't. Like all these.
Right.
So it was one of those things where I needed to hear get all the information I could, filter it down to what actually is relevant and important and makes points. And I found that as long as you don't listen to the chuds, there's a lot of people that have good points, as long as they don't get stuck in just the TV medium, just the game medium. Think about the whole thing and then speak on it. I mean, that's not to say you shouldn't speak on it if you haven't played the game. I just mean, try to get all the information you can.
Sure.
At least. So anyway, God, I don't even know how long it's going to be before The Last of Us Season 3. It was just over 2 years since the first season.
Yeah, I'm just going to assume it's 2 years at this point in between.
I had even speculated that maybe they had already filmed it and they're just waiting till like later this year to do it. That's what I actually thought.
That would have been smart, is you do like 6 months, like now in the fall, the second part comes out. That would have been freaking brilliant, because again, then I would have felt more like a mid-season finale as opposed to a big season finale.
I think that even better for the end of this season, instead of seeing the stadium, we should have woken up to a girl. And a younger girl. And the scene leads to seeing where they are, which is Salt Lake City. And the last thing, again, if they hadn't blown the mystery,
right,
should have been Abby saying hi to her dad or seeing her dad at the Salt Lake City hospital and hearing, there's a girl here. They brought her in. End.
Yes, yeah, I like that better. See, to me, that is a better, because then you're like, is that why she's here?
That's
That's the
why.
thing. It's the, and then I would have been like, oh, I can't wait till next season, man. I gotta see it. See, that's a much better tease into the other half of the story.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know what else we've got going on. I'm still playing games. I mean, this is the end of the video, so if you've made it this far, congratulations. If you like it and if you didn't hit like and subscribe by this point, please do it. As I'm acting like this is live. But we will be back. We're doing a video after doing Rogue One last week on Darren's channel, which you should go over to D's reviews, check out all the stuff we did on Andor, check out all the stuff that D's ever done, like every single one of those videos. Go back in the catalog and watch a ton of great content on a lot of older shows that you like Legion, Preacher, The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead up until the crazy zombie tornado.
Yeah. See me quit reviewing Fear the Walking Dead.
Agents of
on
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Shield, yeah.
All this stuff. Go over to his channel, check it out. Because after Rogue One, like in about a week or so, we're going to be doing our big video about Big Trouble in Little China, a movie that I've been wanting to talk about for my whole life.
Yeah.
And I just happened to bring it up to someone who likes it as much as I do. I lucked out on that. I didn't know you liked it as much as I did. I didn't realize it.
It is
So we're
only
gonna
the greatest movie ever made. I mean,
John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Big Trouble in Little China. There's a video coming for that. What are you doing on your channel? We talked about Peacemaker in like July or something like that.
Peacemaker's coming, I think, August and whatever. I am curious what Ironheart is going to bring. I'm not committing to doing any reviews because I've had a lot of disappointment with some of the Disney offerings of late, and or being a massive exception. So I don't want to commit. I don't like doing hate reviews. I don't think that's fun, but I might do like a post premiere review and a post show review or something like that. We'll do some things. Peacemaker will be coming up. We're talking about some podcasty ideas that we have going on.
And that's the other thing. Like, yeah, we're going to be working on podcasty things together, probably on a separate channel that where we can talk about a lot of other things. Maybe, and you said you don't like talking shit about movies, but that might be the channel to go talk shit about some movies.
I just don't like doing it every week. I'll talk shit about it's there, but it's like, hey, Ed, we're back. No. Second episode also sucked. Third episode.
No, absolutely. No, I can't I can't stand doing that. But that's what's going on in our neck of the woods. You can, like I said, you can always catch me playing games on my channel. There's more stuff coming. There's a lot of stuff coming, probably just in how fast in succession it's going to happen, I don't know, but be on the lookout for all that. So
hit those notification bell, and then you'll be notified when all this stuff drops.
But I'm really happy that we've done this. I'm really happy that Darren joined me for all these, and I wish that we had done the first season together. At this point now, that would have been great. But I really love doing this in this fashion. So hopefully y'all like some of this. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. So see y'all on the next video. When we come back to the last, I mean, it's just that The Last of Us was a big thing, and I know that it's important to a lot of people, and I'm really happy that we talked about this, and that hopefully this video, even though it kind of comes out of nowhere after all the praise we heaped on it early, I hope that at least this is a more fair, balanced look at the whole thing after all is said and done. So this is me, Rob at Smirking Gun, saying have a great night. That's Darren. I'm waffling now.
We're gonna go
Oh.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have a great night, everybody. I'll see you in the next video, bubs. Bye. Ba-ba-ba-bum. 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 Ba-ba-ba-bum.